playing a lot of different sports actually helps you more than just trying to stay and be specific in one sport, especially nowadays where they're trying to train you all year round just for that one sport. It's a really hard thing for people to understand and be able to take that in stride and make it function in their head to say, yes, I'm failing, but I'm not failing. And show people why we're doing it and how it's going to affect communities. Because now it's not only it's not just sports now. Now we're making it as a community.
What one key piece of advice would you like to give to everyone watching and listening today?
Things are never easy, and you've got to keep pushing. So no matter the setbacks that you, sometimes you just have to step back for a minute and try to look at the big picture.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Show. I'm your host, Ethan Cassiotis, and today I have an awesome guest. His name is Kevin Dattola, and he is a business entrepreneur at Tampa All Sports Dome, a former professional baseball player and coach. And he brings over 2 decades of experience in professional sports, business development, and facility operations. And his playing career spanned top-tier organizations, including the Oakland A's, Montreal Expos, and the premier international leagues in Japan and Korea. And after hanging up his cleats, Kevin transitioned into coaching roles with the Texas Rangers and the Somerset Patriots, serving as a hitting coach and specialist in base running, outfield, and third base. And as president and CEO of Tampa All Sports Dome, Kevin oversees daily operations of all dome locations, lead acquisitions, and development strategies, and assembles expert teams to manage each facility. And his deep-rooted marketing relationships, spanning local and national sports radio, television, and community channels, further amplify visibility and engagement for the domes. And with a rare blend of athletic pedigree, business leadership, and real estate savvy, Kevin is uniquely positioned to lead the All Sports Dome network into the future, delivering cutting-edge sports environments for athletes, teams, and communities across the U.S. Southeast. Welcome, Kevin, and thank you for being on the Business Growth Show.
Well, thanks. I appreciate you having me on today. Look forward to it.
Definitely, mate. I'm sure it's going to be awesome for everyone watching and listening today. And you are a successful entrepreneur. So yeah, for those people who don't know who you are, introduce yourself by telling us more about you and your journey.
Sure. Well, I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. So I pretty much grew up in Atlanta, received a baseball scholarship to the University of South Florida in Tampa, Florida, that's where I played my college career and got drafted by the Oakland A's. Excuse me. And then from being drafted, worked my way up through the minor leagues to get to the major league team. And unfortunately, going into my rookie year, I had an ACL tear, and that kind of delayed the process and kind of put me on the back burner as far as getting established in the major leagues. So I pretty much missed about a year and a half and rehabbed my way back into playing and kind of found my way into the Expos organization for just a little bit. Tried to build my way back into the major leagues, and then kind of was offered a contract to go overseas between Korea and Japan. So at that time, it seemed like that was the best move for me, and that's what kind of took me internationally. And I spent about 2.5 years over, in the international leagues, and decided to try to come back one more time here in the United States and get back to the big leagues, and just didn't kind of fall my way. So decided I got a call from actually a coach that had actually drafted me out of college and was working for the Texas Rangers, and offered me a position to come in as a hitting coach, outfield and base running coach. So I jumped at that opportunity and just try to set the next course in my career, and worked with the minor leagues, A-ball, AA, AAA, some big league hitters, and different aspects all the way through the organizations. So that at that time, stayed in coaching professionally for probably, I think, 8 to 9 years, and decided you know what, maybe it's time to, I've been on the road a long time, and it was just kind of ready to try a new avenue in life, and decided that it was time to pretty much see if I could, open my own baseball facility. And uh, that's where I started that, and in Tampa, and we kind of grew that, just becoming basically a coach for young athletes and organizations, and we tried to grow it so that we could grow the sport of baseball in the Tampa area, and we started travel teams and everything else, so that at least we knew that we were giving the kids good instruction from professional ball players, and making sure that they were being taught the right way and we're playing the game the right way. So um, that's kind of base sports wise. That's kind of where it came from, and then that kind of led me into the sports dome world, which um, I'll get to that, a little bit more in depth when if you want to just go from there and see where you want to take this as far as where we want to go with the domes and how that all transitioned.
Yeah, cool, man. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that base story. And I love hearing, stories like yourselves of someone that, had to really get to the point, right, and get to that big area of playing, in those major leagues. That's that thing. What do you think? Because I think a lot of people out there, especially when they're younger, of course, they want to get to the top of whatever their sport is, right? Major leagues, let's say in baseball, right? For you, what do you think was
Right.
the difference that got you to there, with yourself and your peers that were able to play at that elite level?
Um, Great question, and it's something I try to tell all the kids is play different sports. Especially nowadays where they're trying to specialize one certain sport. But I think what really helped me was because I played basketball, I played football, I ran track, I played baseball. I would go from track to baseball all within 2 hours. So I think playing a lot of different sports actually helps you more than just trying to stay and be specific in one sport, especially nowadays where they're trying to train you all year round just for that one sport. You know, secondly, you have to enjoy the sport. I love baseball. I love playing baseball, um, and I think that's another avenue. You have to like it because after we'll say high school, um, a lot of guys don't get to move on. Um, like I said, I went to a Division I school, and you're playing against the top ranked teams in the country. You're in Florida. You're playing the best baseball against the best talent, and then you get to kind of see, um, okay, now I'm at a major university. How do I stack up there against really good players all across the country? And I was able to luckily play in the Cape Cod League, which is the premier college league for all college athletes, at least for baseball. And that's where you really find the top 1 or 2% of all college baseball players are there. Um, and then you get to find yourself and see how you stack up against that talent. And then you're kind of waiting for draft day. I'll kind of throw it in there. I had been drafted 2 other times and had not signed and decided to stay in school. And I ended up not going as early as I wanted to. So, which I think for me was a good fit because I was able to mature a little bit more and being in college at a D1 school. It's almost like once you get drafted, it's almost like coming out instead of signing right from high school into pro ball. It gives you time to mature, figure out who you are, what you're trying to do in baseball because it is a grind. But again, to get there, you still have to love it because it's. I tell a lot of baseball is not a nice sport if you're trying to get to the big leagues. There's a lot of long hours, not real great pay at the beginning. Um, so there's long bus trips, and I mean the kids now have a lot better. I mean, now I'm starting to sound old, but when we, in the 90s, 2000s, these guys have it really a lot better than we did. And I guess we had it a lot better than the guys before us. But again, you have to, because once I got drafted and moved my way up, now you're not now you're playing against people from Japan, Korea, Australia, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, then your own country and Mexico. So now you're in an international pool to see how good you really are. And again, it's a grind. Every day you just have to dedicate yourself to, working hard and trying to figure out what you're good at, what you're not good at. And you're going to have some tough times in the minor leagues because it's long, like I said, it's long hours, and you're going to have some bad weeks. There's just no way around it, especially in baseball, because we don't get that gratitude right away like in football and basketball where you get drafted and you're right in the NBA or you're right in the NFL. We're not afforded that comfort, so you have to work your way up, and then it's also being in the right place at the right time. And like I said, unfortunately I had that injury which was at the wrong time, but I was also learning. I had some great mentors coming up with, obviously Ricky Henderson just passed away. Spent a lot of time with Ricky, and they put me with him because I was a base stealer. I led off, I played center field. My biggest one was probably Dave Henderson. Unfortunately, he passed away too. But these were, if you look at staples of the game, because I also had Jose Canseco in right field, I had Mark McGuire at first base. So those are some really big names at that time that I was able to sit behind and just watch the way that they learned, or not the way they learned, but I learned what they were doing day in and day out, and said, hey, this is the way it needs to be played if you're going to play at this level. And that was, it was a good learning experience for me, because then I was able to have conversations, see their work ethic, and know that, if you want to play at this level, this is how you're going to get there. And trying to get that last final step, can be hard also. So, again, I tell everyone, you have to stay focused. You have to enjoy the game. Baseball's hard enough, and and I try to get it into the younger generation that it's a game of failure. Again, because we can go 3 for 10, which is 30%, and that's great in baseball. Like you get to the Hall of Fame that way, but most people have a hard time making that function in their head. Is, wow, I only got 3 hits out of 10 times. I must not be very good. You can actually go down to 2.5, and you're still pretty good. So it's a really hard thing for people to understand and be able to take that in stride and make it function in their head to say, yes, I'm failing, but I'm not failing. And I think that's the hardest part of baseball, is because a lot of people, it just doesn't make sense in their head. So you see a lot of people just give up on the sport. And, I think that's why, for me, it's probably the hardest sport in the world to play, and even harder to even try to get to the upper levels. So, again, you have to really love it. You got to dedicate yourself to it and be able to really, and make adjustments. If you can make adjustments, that's the biggest issue too, because there'd probably be 10,000 major leaguers if we only threw fastballs. But when you see curveballs, changeups, and especially the way the game's changing now, if you don't adjust, you're not going to make it for long. So I think that's my analysis of trying how to get there and what you need to do.
Yeah, awesome, man. There was so much gold there, and a few key points, right, that I can think about that you pulled out there. I love the the mentoring coaching side that you were talking about there, right? Because like just like business, it's like a sport, right? Being an entrepreneur, I'm sure you understand this now, right? There's a lot of similarities of grinding, making things
Oh,
happen, right? And learning from people that have been there before you, right? There
correct.
and people that can push you to a level further than what you can necessarily do yourself. So I know those names. I even know them from The Simpsons, funnily enough, among other things, right? So there's
Yes.
great episode there on the baseball. But some great names that you got to learn from, which obviously helped you. And I love the bit at the start that you said around play multiple sports, because I think that was me growing up as well. Because number one, you find out what sport you like you said, right? Because you don't know
Right.
that and what you're good at and you enjoy, and it could be multiple sports, but eventually you might go down to one. For me, it was soccer and tennis. They were the two. I ended up picking soccer. But you've got baseball there, which is awesome. So and that just keeping going, right? Failure is going to happen. You keep going, all of that area there, and that's the way to success. And if you keep going down, so I think there was some amazing lessons, what you just shared with us. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Let
No.
Yeah. Let's switch it up now. Let's get into Sports Dome, because I think this is the more interesting part now of business side. I think the mindset and everything you shared was as amazing as well, right? We can model a lot of these
Right.
beliefs in business. Let's talk about the Sports Dome. So, obviously, yeah, like how did this start? How did you get into this and go, let's create something unique?
This is really how it started. When I did get hurt, I ended up in Winnipeg, Canada. I know of all places. I'd never heard of it. I got a phone call one day, and I was only about, I think I was 6 months out of surgery, and so I wasn't able to play. I had just been released, and they kept me in Tampa to rehab. So I still had about another year of rehab to go on my knee, and I got a call from a coach, and was from an independent team, and he's like, "Hey, our team's in Winnipeg, Canada. I know you're hurt, but we have some good doctors here. We could let you play at your pace and try to so that you're not missing the whole year, and you can try to get some swings in, and try to get you ready for the next, the next season, at that level, because I was at that major league AAA level right there. So I was like, you know what, this is probably the best thing for me. So obviously you get to, I go, and so obviously it gets cold in Canada, but they had a sports dome there, and that was actually the first time I'd ever seen a dome. But obviously because of all the snow and the cold that they get, they used it for multiple purposes, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, because you go in there, you could hit, but they had golf, they had all kinds of things going on in there. So I was like, interesting. So that moving on, later down the road, I mean, probably 10, 12 years later, as I was coaching the Somerset Patriots, we were based out of New Jersey. So when we got to spring training, obviously it was still cold in New Jersey, and they had a sports dome there in New Jersey, and that we use that dome, to have indoor practices, because especially early when we get into the season, it's still, you're there, we're there, end of April, early May. So up north, it's still cold. They had a beautiful dome. They had all kinds of different attractions in it. They had a fitness center. They had everything you could think of: doctors' offices, baseball, basketball. So I was like, gosh, this, and that's when it really caught my attention. I'm like, because me being from Georgia and then living in Florida, I was like, I mean, they have the cold, and obviously it gets cold up there. And then, being from the South, I was like, it gets it gets so dang hot down here. It's something else, and it wasn't even as hot back then as it is now. So I spent 3 years in Somerset. So the second year back, I started talking with the owner of the dome, and actually, one of the sponsors. It was actually an ex Oakland A player that actually owned the dome. His parents did, and they kind of made the name And so people from that Flemington area use the Jack Cuss baseball dome and the sports arena. So I decided to jump in and start learning about the ins and outs of how does it work, this and that. Because in the back of my mind, I was like, I am gonna bring this to the South. And I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it yet, but I'm gonna keep it in my back pocket and do this. So I pretty much for a year and a half, I just tried to take in as much information. He actually gave me paperwork, files, and different things of how the dome works with the financials and just everything out that inside and outside of it. And I was like, this is interesting, and I held on to that for till uh, about COVID. And while we were here, I was like, okay, because I had my baseball facility in Tampa, and so we had to let that go, when everything was going on. So I was like, you know what, I've held on to this long enough. And then I started doing my work and re-evaluating and reaching out to different businesses or, turfs and domes and trying to put the whole concept of how many, how big is this? What am I going to need? Um, and then see, how to glue all this together. And, you start with the business plan, you start papers flying and tearing up, and then just like you said, it finally, probably at the end of 2022, it all started coming together. I'm like, okay, Tampa's a great spot for this. Obviously, we know about the heat. We know what the sports world here in the South is. It's crazy between football, baseball. I mean, it's a sports world in the Southeast, states. So we have great athletes, great coaches. So I was like, and I was trying to keep it like, okay, how can I make this work without giving it away? And then have someone bigger than me come in and try to do this. So we got to the point, just through uh, 2 feet, two steps forward and one back, I think maybe 900 times, 1,000 meetings, if not more, just you name it, trying to come up with the right, whether you get because now you're working with investors, you're trying to figure out how are you going to finance this? How are you going to show everyone, that we're not like this does work. And you get a lot of naysayers that just go through it and try to pick it apart, but then they don't understand the bigger picture. And the part I know it in pretty much, I knew it inside and out, or still do. So I know there's going to be things that I'm going to adjust, but at the same time, I'm at the point now where I can, I can show people why we're doing it and how it's going to affect communities. Because now it's not only, it's not just sports now. Now now we're making it as a community for a town like Tampa, Orlando, Atlanta, Texas. That community is going to be able to use this for not just sports, but for other events, and businesses can use it for corporation get-togethers, home and garden show, boat shows. So it's something that now the whole community can take pride in, and it's just it's a huge space that's climate controlled, which is the key for us is with that climate control, because between the rain and everything else, the lightning and the heat, the bugs, you name it, it becomes kind of unbearable for a good 4 to 5 months here, where you really can't get outside. So it just, like I said, it formed, and now we're at the point where we've got the 4 locations almost ready to go, and we'll get this to the finish line again. I think it'll be an advantage for the youth, but high school, middle school, parents, because it's truly going to be an event center for everybody, and anyone can use it. And that's the other thing, because there are some domes, but they're private. Like some football teams have it, but it's only for it's for the private football teams, where this is available to anybody, 24 hours, 7 days a week. So we feel that it's something that's needed. And one, because we have none in the southeast. I know there's plenty of them in Canada, um, obviously up north in the Midwest, and Bo Jackson has a sports dome. There's a couple in Chicago. There are some really nice domes, and we took advantage of trying to understand those domes and asking them questions and learning and visiting some other domes just to make sure that we understood what we're getting ourselves into, and something that we can bring to the community that we feel that everybody can enjoy and use.
Yeah, amazing. Love that story, and there was a lot of great lessons that came out of that, right? Like, I love the 900 conversations that you were saying, right? 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and that's, I think that sports background of yours, right, of failure being normal and just keeping going, like helped you, right? And this is a realization, right? If you're creating a business that needs investment, it's not like you have one conversation and it just happens, right? There's a lot of conversations that need to happen. There's a lot of due diligence, a lot of numbers, a lot of, all this stuff that happens in the background over a longer period of time, right? You talked about 2022, we're in 2025 now, right? You've been doing this, plus
Right.
you obviously were learning for a year and a half back then of how it worked before you started it. So there's a lot that goes in the background of this. But it's awesome that you've got to this point now, creating multiple, of these all sports domes, and I love that it's got a community element as well. And just so people know how, like, just give a little bit of context about like how big this is and how, what type of sports can be included and stuff. Cause it's not like a small dome, in what you're doing. Yeah.
Right. No, absolutely. So right now our domes are we're basing it off about 130,000 square feet. So that's about 3.5 acres. The dome's about, at the peak of its height, it's about 80 feet. Obviously, it's large. Um, Underneath the dome, we have a full size football field that can turn into obviously a full size soccer field. It can be for lacrosse, it could be for rugby, it could be anything that the 7-on-7. But any sport that we need, it's available for them to use. Even the baseball and softball for the like 12 and under. The bigger guys will have the batting, because so we have batting cages in there that obviously the older guys can use and everything else. Then we'll have 4 basketball courts that turn into 8 volleyball courts on another side. And then on our last side, we'll have pickleball courts and tennis courts, and possibly your new sport that we're going to add to it. And so all together, then so you could literally have 10 sports going on at one time, 10 different sports going on at one time. And then we have, uh, what am I looking for? Lining, so that we can line off the fields and put netting up so that, the balls aren't flying everywhere. But you may have one, obviously you have the basketball and volleyball could be going at the same time. And then you could have a football practice going on with a soccer practice, and then the other part, a lacrosse practice, and then with the batting cages and everything else. So sometimes it's going to look like chaotic sports, but it just gives everyone, like I said, we want to make it so that it's not just one sport and they're practicing at one time. It gives everyone a chance to get in there throughout the hours of the day. So, like I said, then depending on our acres outside, we're going to try to have outside fields with beach volleyball courts, more pickleball courts, and then hopefully another full size football field that can be broken into different sports out there. So if the weather is nice or we're just overcrowded and it's not too hot, then we can jump, we can have even more teams jump outside. So, and then in front of the dome, we'll have a welcome center, and that's where we want everyone to feel at home. We'll have our concessions and everything else with TVs. We're going to be able to have live streams so that, say, the parents have another kid and they need to be at the concession stand, or they need to have them doing something else. We'll have cameras inside the dome that will stream back into your phone or on the TVs in the concessions area, or we'll call it our clubhouse. And so they can watch what's going on, or if a game's going on, they can watch their son or daughter, participate while they're maybe handling the other siblings. We're going to have golf simulators, baseball bays. It's a game. It's really a game for all ages that is played on a big baseball simulator. We have a VR room, and what else do we have? We have one more, a gaming room for kids that may not be into sports, but it creates learning activities, learning games, and it's for all ages. So we're trying to supply everything for a family that whether some kids may not be into sports, but we're dads that want to go hit the golf balls while their sons are practicing, or daughters. Moms have, what they can be hitting the golf balls, they can at the baseball base. So we've tried to make it a entertainment center so that somewhere that they want to hang out. Bring the kids on a Friday night because it's going to be fun. They can have a couple of pizzas, watch sports, or go into the dome and do whatever they want to do, or just play around in the concession area. So, or the clubhouse, that's our name for it. So, it kind of gives you a visualization of what it's going to look like all together.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds amazing with yeah, all the variety there and not just the actual sports, but the things in the background. I love the cameras side of things. I think that technology side is going to be next level, right? To watch your children, or maybe there's teams in there that want to check on what's going on right in the play and stuff like that. Which could be really powerful on improving right what you do, and all those other little fun parts of people, and it makes it easy, right? Because then you could go there and do, like, a kid could do an hour of soccer, then an hour of baseball, and or like basketball or something like that, depending on what's available, on how it's being booked and things. To sort of back to back, when you talk about playing multiple sports here, right? You can sort of
Right.
get it all in one go. So it's amazing.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah. I think it'll be a good blend of everything to mix in for everybody.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome, mate. Well, yeah, sounds really, really powerful. And I think you're on something here. Our weather's probably a little bit different in Australia. But yeah, it's the I think for where you are and the more extremes, like you said, like up the north there, but it's in the southeast, as well as I've been in Florida too, especially around that summer period. Definitely gets
Mm,
quite warm and tropical, so to speak, in that
yeah,
areas.
it's something.
That's
Uh,
it. So yeah, being able to create this and create year long sports, right? To be able to continue, season, off season, all of that, continue going, because that helps with getting better enjoyment, everything like that, fitness, health, which is so important in what we're doing in life, mate. So yeah, you shared so much gold with us here today, around the baseball background, the way of thinking, and which is very aligned with business and how we do. And now this very cool business idea and what you've had to go through to get it to that point with the All Sports Dome, and what you're really creating, to allow people to enjoy themselves, and get to that point, that be part of that community, all that health and fitness, which will then I see is as important. I think my soccer and that I continue to play now, and some other sports when I can, is definitely helps me, to clear my mind, to be fit and healthy, to be on point, right, with what I'm doing in my business and my life outside of that. So I think sports are so important. It's great that you're able to create that. And I guess as we're starting to wrap up here today, what one key piece of advice would you like to give to everyone watching and listening today?
um, I would say again is you've got to things are never easy. And you've got to keep pushing. So no matter the setbacks that sometimes you just have to step back for a minute and try to look at the big picture. But I think that if you just keep going and take it at your pace, I guess that's the biggest thing I can say is you don't, um, you know, be patient, um, and don't give up. And that will that will keep you moving forward. And even on the hardest days, you just, there's someone else out there probably having just the same day that you're kind of having. So just try to keep pushing through it, and then try to wake up each morning with a positive attitude and say, let's win the day today, and then let's see what tomorrow brings us. And you just keep working hard and stay focused. And if you don't give up, good things happen.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Love that. Definitely keep going and make things happen. Yeah, we connected through our networks. I learned about your awesome journey from being a professional baseballer to now founding the Tampa All Sports Dome. You're an awesome guy. Kevin, so knowledgeable. You shared so much gold with us here today on how to think and how to be and how to keep moving forward and create success, right? Among all the resilience and everything that comes with that, to make it happen over time. And I'm sure you're an awesome guy. I'm sure you continue to help people, stay fit and healthy and really enjoy themselves as well. And very grateful that we connected. Look forward to partnering with you. So, Kevin, how can people find you and get in contact with you?
Well, we're still we're getting the websites and everything we to the finish. Like, we had to kind of wait and make sure everything was going in the right direction. But obviously, you can. I'm on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way to find me, and then everyone knows that I'm a real person. And I would say that's the best way. And here, eventually, once we get the website up and going, obviously we'll have a lot more social media outlets and different things that I'll, I'll be following, and that people will be able to follow me back. But if you, right now, I think if you look for the All Sports Dome Southeast, or the Tampa All Sports Dome, Orlando All Sports Dome, you'll be able to find me. And again, anyone that wants to contact me on LinkedIn, just send me a message and I'll get right back to you.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Love it. Well, definitely check out Kevin there. LinkedIn, the best method, as well as searching for those different domes as well that he's got. It's been a pleasure interviewing you, mate, and thanks for being on the Business Growth Show.
Hey, I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Business Growth Show, where we talk about everything on business growth. And please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as Ethan Cassiotis, or visit my website, ethancassiotis.com. And if you want to grow and scale your business, you'd reach out to me on any platform to see if we're a good fit. So until next time, remember that our business grows where we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. So let's create wealth and freedom together.